What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. So I have a very special guest for you guys today. His name is Matt. When I was in New York visiting my family, he actually ran up on me in the store and he said, "Hey, I watch your YouTube videos." And he started to tell me this crazy story. And I asked him, I'm like, hold up, bro. Would you be willing to come on my YouTube channel and share this with my subscribers? And he was very open to that. I will say that this was a very difficult video for him to film. Now, there is a part at the end of the video where I actually had to turn off the camera and discuss with him what he could and could not share for his own protection. This is a very emotional video, you guys. It's something that I wanted to share. I wanted him to share the story, but the interview takes a turn, if that makes sense, and he starts to share a story time about corrupt officers bribing inmates. Now, when he started to tell the story, I asked him if we needed to pause. That is when I turned off the camera and he told me the story, and I advised him not to share that. So if the end of the video is a little bit confusing, it's because I have to edit things out to protect him. The Department of Corrections in New York is very corrupt, and I was just concerned about what he could and could not share. So that is the reason why the end of the video might not make too much sense. However, we will get into that part of the story at a later date after we consult a lawyer. It's that serious, you guys. So I will never have a guest incriminate themselves. I will also make sure that I'm protecting my guests. So anyway, I had the opportunity to meet his wife and his son, and they are just a beautiful family, and I'm so grateful that he came on the channel and he shared his story. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. What's up, man? How are you?
How's it going?
How's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Matt Grannon. I'm originally from Sydney.
You went to prison?
Yes.
What year was that?
2006.
2006. What did you go to prison for?
Burglary third.
So just for people like that don't know the degrees, can you explain what burglary in the third is?
It's a non-violent, which means I entered a dwelling instead of a house.
Is there a difference between a dwelling and a house? I don't get it.
Yeah, a dwelling is more like a business.
Oh,
and
okay.
Obviously, a house is where people reside.
Okay, got you. So, and you stole property out of this business?
Cash.
So you sold cash out of this business?
Yes.
How many years did you get upstate for that?
7 to 14.
Dang, man. And then restitution after that? Or no?
Yeah, well, during.
During, okay. So you were first sent to the county, and
Yes.
then where did you go from there?
To 11 different counties, and then Shenango County felt they had enough evidence to give me 3 consecutive 3.5 to 7s.
That sucks. Consecutive sucks. That's why he did total of 8?
Well, I did 7 total, but they tried to, it's an illegal bid. If you add up 3.5 to 7s, it's like 11 to 21, which is an illegal sentence.
Okay, so we're in the state of New York, and that's just how they do things. So like your first time will be like 1 to 33, 2 to 5, 3 to 7, and they kind of go up from there. So did you have any priors before that?
I thought I did because I had a gun charge in 1998. But it was in full satisfaction for a misdemeanor. So even though they charged me as a predicate felon, that's why some of them got reduced, and I only did 7 on top of their illegal sentencing.
Okay. So at what point did you go to Attica?
It was, I went upstate September 20th, 2006, and I was in Elmira, and by October 2nd, I was in Attica.
What was your first impression of the officers in Attica?
Not like anything I had encountered before. The officers were very connected with each other, very blue with blue, green with green.
So what he means by that is a lot of the times correctional officers are actually family, friends. The nurse will be the correctional officer's wife or girlfriend or whatever. So I've seen that a lot too, where it's just you stick together. I know a lot of facilities, it's more like redneck officers that live in like the hills, because these prisons are way out in the middle of nowhere, you guys. Was that kind of the vibe for you, like redneck officers who were just...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Were they really aggressive?
Oh, yeah.
So what was the first time that you felt either uncomfortable or you saw them get really aggressive? Can you describe that situation?
It was upon my arrival there in intake. They basically took their sticks out, and we were in bullpens, which are cages that they stick us in until they can one by one uncuff you and take you through their intake process. They just picked a guy, and they took their stick out and hit him in the neck, which caused him to immediately pass out, if not die. I'm not sure what happened to that inmate. So I said, well, I hope he was a rapo. And they pulled me out and grabbed a hold of me and used my body as a battering ram against the wall, which actually broke my neck.
This is day one, Attica.
10 minutes in.
10 minutes in, you're in intake. They pick you up and break your neck.
Yes.
So after that happened, where did they take you? What was the procedure involved?
Well, while I was laying on the floor and couldn't move, I really was disoriented. I didn't realize what had just happened, to be honest. And I kind of saw a boot coming towards my face, so I turned my head, and they kicked me in the side and broke my jaw and knocked 3 teeth out. They took me to an infirmary where I had to sign a release stating they were going to remove the broken teeth from the gums so they did not become infected. Which totally didn't make sense because they were trying to kill me.
Yeah.
And just so people know, if it wasn't for a nurse coming to get the guy they hit with the stick, they probably would have killed me.
So, did they take you to segregation after that?
Yes, I spent 19 months in what they call the box, which, if you're in Attica, is called the snake pit. It is completely dark and creepy, which used to be their holding for people that were awaiting death row. And once they executed somebody, then they would take the next person from the snake pit and bring him up to the upper floor where then that person would wait for their execution.
Yeah, I've been in facilities like that. It's really creepy and dark and scary, and just like my personal experience in it, like there would be like these different like layers to it. So like you'd get, if you're on death row or whatever, you'd be in this different like kind of greenhouse. I think New York is how New York does it. It looked very different when I was in Arkansas prison. It was like a fucking dungeon, and then seg was on top of it. So like there'd be this whole row of like this entire tier that was blocked off. You couldn't see them.
Yes.
So it was even more dark. Is that kind of similar?
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's really crazy. So they broke your neck, they broke your jaw, they sent you to seg. In New York State, it's required by law that a nurse sees you within 24 hours. Did that happen? Did she go to seg to see you?
No, they took me to an infirmary.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and they like did surgery on my mouth with they say dentist, but I say veterinarian.
Every inmate says that. Yeah. Because it's how they make you feel. Like they're not gentle, they're not nice, they don't walk you through anything. They just get in there and do what they gotta do, and it's almost like you're not a human. It's kind of how it feels. So
yep.
We all say that because they make you feel like you're less than a human.
Yes.
So you got surgery on your jaw. Did they ever confirm your neck was broken?
Not until 2011 when I came home.
2011. Years later.
Yes.
So how was your mobility in seg after that incident?
Well, because I'm confined to the cell for what they call 23-1, that means you're locked in for 23 hours and you're allowed 1 hour out. You could go to recreation, which was actually just an extension off of the block, and it was really, you had to be fully shackled.
Yeah.
So I only attempted to go once, but it was such a headache that I never did it again. So basically I spent 19 months in 24-hour segregation inside the cell until they transferred me outside of the facility. So
how would you move around?
I really didn't even know my neck was broken. I just kind of felt like a turtle trapped in a shell, like I was, and I had to turn to move, so I knew something was wrong, but I just didn't know to what extent. And inside a cell, there's not really anything to do other than like push-ups and sleep and lay down.
Did Attica have the kind of cells where they would open the door and your shower was right there, or did they have to shackle you and take you to the shower?
I was never shackled to the shower, but Yeah, it's individualized, and the shower was the second cell in on the company. The first one is their, buckets where you can get your brooms or your mop buckets. The second cell was the showers. I was in 6 cell 19 company, which again is the snake pit to them. So they would like pop my gate, I would get out, go to the shower, lock cell 2, take my shower, then tell the officer I'm done. He would pop that, and then I was immediately had to lock back into my cell.
So during your time in segregation, did you try to write grievances or let anyone know that you were in extreme physical pain?
Yeah, I did. And unfortunately, Attica is what they call a privatized prison system, so only the things that they want to leave the jail. So me writing Albany or even my family, it never left their jail.
Yeah. So you guys, I understand that he broke the law. He deserved to go to prison. Totally should not be robbing people, 100%. But he's a human fucking being. And the fact that they broke his neck is ridiculous. But I'm telling you, when you're in there, you're almost helpless. He couldn't write people. He couldn't tell them that he was injured. And he honestly didn't even know he was injured. He knew he was in pain, but like, how do you know unless a doctor is x-raying you? So nurses periodically come to the tier, and so do mental health. Did you ever talk to them?
They would pretend they were talking to me, but again, nothing is on camera in their jail.
Walk me through that. So she came to your cell and was like, what's up?
And I told her I was in pain, and she said, well, you could sign up for sick call. It's at 6 a.m. in the morning. And I said, I've tried, and they never pop my cell to come out. And she said, well, like I said, sick call is at 6 a.m.
That's it?
Yes.
So the officers would refuse you to go to sick call?
Yes.
Do you think, like, in your opinion, were they doing that to protect themselves?
At first, I didn't realize, like, why this was happening to me, because, again, there are people that have been in there for, like John Lennon's killer is in there, and the Zodiac
that
killer.
Bastard. Love John Lennon.
And those type of people get treated that way.
Yeah.
They are fully segregated. They have actual plexi over their bars. So I just didn't understand. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a rapist. I made some bad decisions to get quick cash, and I was being treated like a monster.
So I kind of want to talk again about, like, mail not leaving the facility, you guys. They do this shit, and I don't think the general public has any idea about what actually goes on behind those doors. We only see what we are shown. We only see certain shows like Lockup. We don't see the actual process of the inmates. You'll see the inmates in there, maybe they're rapping, making dinner, you'll see their life, but you're not seeing extreme abuse. You're not seeing these inmates being beaten within an inch of their life or even murdered. There are several cases where inmates were murdered, and they just protect themselves. And a lot of times a judge will say, oh, well, you broke the law. I'm gonna believe my officers. I'm gonna believe the law enforcement officers over you. It's the most corrupt system I've ever seen in my life. So at what point did you realize you had your neck broken? You said when you got out. What did your doctors say to you when they finally saw you?
They thought I was lying. I'll back up. I really didn't think anything was wrong with me anymore because of living with it for so long that I was working at Chobani within 24 hours of my release from prison.
So you were just used to it.
And I was stacking yogurt on top of the thing, and whatever happened caused me to pass out. So the owner, Looney, came down with 3 other people, and they told me I had to go see a doctor before I could come back to work. When I went to see a doctor, they didn't understand, so they sent me to an MRI in one of the hospitals around here. And then the neurologist came in a month later to review what they had seen on the pictures and called me a liar, and there's no way that I could have gone this long without knowing my neck was severely broken. And so I basically told him, like, you can look in all my medical history, there's no report of anything, which he did. And then that opened up the door to, well, do you know when this could have happened? And I said, the only thing that I could recall is when they used me as a battering ram.
Can you describe a little bit about what that looked like?
If you've ever seen, like, I don't know how to explain it. So one officer had me by my feet, another officer had me by, like, around right below my arms wrapped, and they just kind of shoved me head first into a solid concrete wall.
Oh my God. So now the doctors are trying to piece together what the hell happened, you know? Today, what is the diagnosis with that?
They told me, so about a month ago I was experiencing a lot of heart attack symptoms, and I didn't know what was going on, and so I ended up in the ER, and they basically said that my C6, 7, and 8 are these nerves that run from your brain past your spinal cord down through your shoulder and by your heart, and they feel like they get pinched or trapped, and that causes low oxygen to the brain where I would pass out or be in excruciating extensive pain. And I don't like to medicate through pharmaceuticals, so I've kind of just dealt with this my entire life on my own, through meditation and other forms of releasing this pain out of my body.
You can say you smoke weed, it's okay.
I use CBD based
oil.
cream and CBD oils. I was using THC for a while, but I thought that was what was causing me to pass out, which now I found out isn't, but the CBD works much better than the actual THC. The THC gives me high anxiety, which may cause me...
Same. The
Yeah.
CBD is great. I'm so happy that it can at least help you a little.
Yeah.
So moving forward, what are the doctors saying with your diagnosis and recovery? Have they walked you through like a plan on how to help you?
They basically were trying to give me a low dosage of Suboxone. It's totally off subject, but when I came home, a friend of mine who I considered to be a little brother, he was using heroin and got into Suboxone because he thought it was safer, and he was found dead in the woods. So I don't know that would be the best case scenario for pain relief for me. I'm not putting anybody down that is on any type of medication because everybody's different.
I'm so glad you said that, because Suboxone does help a lot of people, but it's not a one-size-fits-all miracle cure to addiction. So
yes.
I'm glad you said that.
And so right now the doctors are kind of like in arms. So there's something called a Geno test, and that basically the only way that I can tell you how this works is so if 5 of us are in a room and we're all going to be put on Seroquel, our bodies will react differently. So to know the proper dosage of what you need, there's this Geno test where they can figure out what is suitable for your body so that you're not zombified or you're not incapable of moving or these types of things. But again, I don't want to medicate like through pharmaceutical, so they're kind of like up in arms of what they're gonna do. They did send me to a private doctor who her job is to do pain management, and she kind of turned me away because she said, well, my job is to help people get off the meds to deal with their pain, but you were never on meds, so I don't know how to help you.
Oh, that is so rough. New York State's not the best either when it comes to certain things. We do have really good hospitals here, but I could complain all day about doctors in New York State or schools in New York State. I'm whatever. So at this point, you don't know of how you're going to recover. You're not sure.
No, and just so people know, I was working from 2011 all the way until 2018. In 2015, I opened up my own business with drones because being forced to let me take that back. Working in a workforce, for me, is easier to work in a factory like Chobani, where we're just stacking yogurt, or Raymond's, where they build forklifts, and I was just running a tester to test the amount of hydraulic fluid that the ram could hold. But again, I was constantly in pain, and bosses don't really care to hear that you're in pain and that your job duties, because there's somebody else that can do your job.
Yeah.
And nowadays robots can do it with no breaks, no pain, no nothing. So I basically opened up my own business so I could make my own hours and I could work at my own leisure. And if I was in pain, I could tell my wife, like, hey, I need to go lay down for an hour, and it wouldn't affect what we were doing with our job.
Yeah.
Which has worked out. But again, the pain that I'm in on a daily basis, is just, it's hard to manage.
So because there's no record of this happening at Attica, is there any way to sue?
No, I mean, their timeline of their technology is great, so they could timeline it and see that, in 2006, this is when this happened, because the amount of cartilage and scar tissue that had built up. They were able to pinpoint 2006. So they know that I was not in the streets in 2006. Mm-hmm. So obviously this happened during incarceration. But again, my DIN number started in 06. So could it be in Elmira? Could it be in Attica? Could it be when they shipped me out? And just to touch on this a little bit too, is they said there was only 3 ways to get out of their jail. And I didn't meet any of the criteria.
Do you want to take a break?
Maybe.
Okay.
And they gave me a ticket out with 4 other people, 4 other inmates left the facility. I myself didn't want to do anything to anybody because I know what it's like. I didn't, even though I committed a crime, that for them to break my neck was totally wrong. So for me to do harm to another individual who's already being punished is kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. So you guys, it happens all the time. Correctional officers will come up to you and say, do you want your urine to leave the lab? Like, do you want to fail this drug test? Do you want to pass this drug test? Do you want this? Do you want that? They'll make little deals with you because they know that, like, you don't want to go to the box for a dirty urine. You want to leave that facility, so they'll make you really messed up deals. Go cut that rapo and this will happen for you. Go do that and this will happen for you. It's not uncommon at all, especially in the New York Department of Corrections. I know that Attica in particular is kind of under a microscope right now. They have a lot more cameras than they did in 2006 because they actually killed someone. Did they kill him? The guy with his eyeball popped out of his head. He died?
I think so.
So they actually killed a young man. His eye was popped out of his skull. So now Attica has a lot more cameras and they have a little bit more accountability, but it's still blue with blue, you guys. Those officers stick to themselves and they defend one another. They'll lie to protect one another. So there's 2 very drastic teams, us and them, and it is a very tense, very hostile environment that you're in on a daily basis. Would you say that you have PTSD dealing with the Department of Corrections?
Absolutely. Actually, that was one of the diagnoses that the doctors just gave me, but they're saying it's from the broken neck incident and that maybe working in the work field is probably not the best idea for someone like me because of the panic attacks.
Yeah, you have panic attacks?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you went through that and are still going through that. This is a lifelong battle that Matt is going to have to face. PTSD is so hard. My boyfriend has PTSD from the military, so I deal with it on a daily basis, and we really have to curtail our lives around what he's comfortable with. I know that you're married and she's a great support to you, and I'm so grateful for that. Is there anything else that you want to share with us before you go?
I just hope that anybody who is in a similar predicament can find a solution to get out of it safely and not have to go through what some of us had to go through in order for Attica to be on camera like a normal prison system. I just want to add this, that there were times that I was able to visit and hear that they, just picked what they consider herb and killed them. This is not just in Attica, this is in all facilities. even look down to the last facility I was in, which was Orleans. Something as simple as me going home in 2 weeks, I passed a magazine on a walkway, which again is not legal. They call it unauthorized exchange.
Yep.
An officer tried to get the magazine from the individual that I passed it to and kind of jumped on his back and put him in a headlock, and so the inmate leaned forward and the officer fell off of his back and broke his neck and died right there on the spot.
Over a fucking magazine.
Yeah. Now, 25 officers tackled this individual, which may sound insane, but
Not to
obviously you can tell that not one part of his body was visible after all this weight was on him.
Right.
And they left him there while they medevaced the officer out of the facility, and then came back with a van and just, same way they kind of picked me up and used me as a battering ram, they just tossed him in the back of a van, lifeless.
He was dead at that point.
Yeah.
Do you know where they transported him to?
I do not.
Yeah, inmates don't know a lot. We only see things. We're not told afterwards, hey, what happened to that guy? Did he pass away? Where is he? Does family know? You can't ask those questions to those officers because they're gonna take that as like a direct, like we're threatening them. Yep. Almost. Like they're gonna feel like we're attacking them, and we can't ask those questions. Like we know better.
Well, I didn't.
You didn't? Did
No.
You ask?
I said, I can't believe they just killed him over a magazine, and the officer in my dorm stood up and said, I thought you were going home in 2 weeks. So that was a clear indication that he didn't die and that I didn't see anything.
Nothing
and
happened.
I was going to go home if I continued to say I didn't see anything.
Yeah, it's almost a requirement, you guys, and they just dangle things over you like that. Like, oh, I thought you were going to go home in 2 weeks. Bet you saw nothing, right? You didn't see anything, nothing happened. They act like that. They're very intimidating towards you, especially when they know they're in the wrong. So we're gonna end today's video here. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming on my channel and sharing the story. I know that just sharing it is not only therapeutic for you, but it can shed light on what actually goes on in the New York Department of Corrections. So thank you again so much.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right, you guys, stay safe, stay sober, do not break the law, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.